It's hard not to add a side of hot, crispy hash browns to your favorite McDonald's breakfast. It's even harder not to eat said hash browns before you get home. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
The living room is where you make life's most beautiful memories. But your sofa shouldn't be the one remembering them. The new life-resistant, high-performance furniture collection from Ashley is designed to withstand all the spills, slip-ups, and muddy paws that come with the best parts of life. Ashley high-performance sofas and recliners are soft, on-trend, and easy to clean. Shop the high-performance furniture in-store or online at ashley.com. Ashley, for the love of home.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer, he hears things differently. To the untrained ear, everything on his shop floor might sound fine, but he can hear gears grinding or a belt slipping. So he steps in to fix the problem at hand before it gets out of hand. And he knows Grainger's got the right product he needs to get the job done, which is music to his ears. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Ready? Yeah. Welcome to Orioles on the Birds. This is Zach Spedden, joined as always by Bob Phil and Nick Stevens, and we are happy to be back at Checkerspot Brewing for our second live show here at this great brewery in South Baltimore. And we have a lot to talk about today. One of our guests is here, host of Locked On Orioles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Connor Newcombe is with us. On this episode, we're also going to dive into Cole Irvin's hot start, and we're going to take questions from the listeners or our audience. But first, we want to welcome the taproom manager of Checkerspot Brewing, Dennis Nash.
How's it going, guys?
Good to have you on, and thank you to you and the staff for having us here. We always enjoy it. So, how are you getting through the season with Craig Kimbrell as closer?
I'm taking a lot of nerve meds. I'm definitely having anxiety talks with my therapist, and I think he's a work in progress. I think we got the right manager to deal with that. I feel like Hyde's really good at getting a lot out of people. Like, we brought up a guy who pitched in 7 years, who pitches 11 shutout innings as a starter. So I don't think we have to jump off the ledge. We got a lot of talent on the team.
Yeah, and getting into that, this team right now looks like it's solid just about every other area. When you think about it compared to last year, how confident are you feeling?
I think we're going to still be a 100-game winner. I think we're definitely going to make a deeper run in the playoffs. Hopefully we don't run into a buzzsaw. I mean, let's be honest, like, Texas was so hot. Like, I don't think, no one stopped them. They didn't lose on the road. That's not baseball math. So I feel like we're in a good spot.
Now, you're down here in South Baltimore. You just opened this location last year. There are other breweries around here, though, and you all have your own version of the hot dog race. Can you tell our listeners about that?
Yes, we do. Pickett, Wyco, and ourselves are in the South Baltimore Brewery District, and we decided to have fun the last game of the season last year. We had a hot dog race. We basically drew out a hat, we drew rubbish. Just so you know, we were undefeated. We won last year. A couple of Fridays ago, we set this last time, and our person who ran the race dressed up as Relish, and when Relish won at Candy Yards, Mr. Splash lost his mind. It was great.
Now, you have a lot going on here at Checkerspot. You're a very good spot to watch the Orioles game. You have a lot of events throughout the week. So why should our listeners who, hopefully they have been here, but any listeners who have not been here yet, why should they come check you out?
We have Bird is the Word on tap every single day. I'm drinking one right now. We're definitely very pro-Orioles. We've done events with them. We support Oriole Advocates, which is a great cause that the Orioles support. We've got a few events with them, so we're all in. We want this place filled with orange and black. It used to be filled with Yankees and Red Sox fans, and that was sad for me.
Go to one last question here for you. When you were on last year, you had told us about how you had called your shot before the 2023 season, said the Orioles were going to win the division, and they did. What's going to happen in 2024?
We're going to win the division again. We're definitely going to ALCS, for sure. From there, it's questionable because playoff baseball, young guys, the pressure is like a whole psychological thing, but this team's going to be tough for 4 or 5 years. These are the prospects we have, as you guys report on it. Like you and I were talking earlier, there's more hype on ESPN about a That's pretty amazing.
It is, and Dennis, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you to you and the staff for hosting us today.
Anytime, you guys are always welcome. Thanks for coming in. Have a good day, everybody.
Dennis Nash, everyone, and as a reminder, Orioles on the Verge is brought to you by Bet Online, your number one source for all your summer sports this season, from MLB, golf, NBA, and NHL playoff stats. All the latest stats, news, and scores available to follow your favorite teams. Get the latest odds and lines, including the latest team matchups, player props, and odds on just about every sport out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Bet Online, where the game starts. And now, as we like to do at the beginning of every episode, we want to shout out members of our Patreon community. During our live shows, we usually shout out the members of the community who are here, which we're going to do in a moment. But for the first time ever, we're going to have 2 patrons, maybe 3, get their introductory shout out during a live show. With that, I'll turn it over to Bob.
Yeah, we have 2 new patrons before today. It was Devin Caldwell and John Weiland. They both signed up at the AAA level, which is $10 a month, so greatly appreciated there. Superstars of their own. And then a guy I'll just call Jack Vegetable signed up today, and greatly appreciated. Very cool patron to join the ranks. And even if you're not a patron, join our Discord. There's some great discussions going on every day in there, so appreciate it. Thanks.
And now, as the patrons are here today, because we've got quite a few.
Yeah, we got Tony D over here. Thanks for coming out. Dan and Jeanette, always grateful for them coming out to the live shows. Another Dan wearing a Gunnar Henderson jersey. We have Adam, or should I say DB, back there. And we have Andrew Robles' dad here.
All right, I will now introduce our guest for today's episode. He is the host of Locked On Orioles, part on the Locked On Podcast Network. He's also one of our most frequent guests. Welcome, Connor Newcombe.
Thank you guys for having me back. I know Dr. Loftus is the leader. Am I close?
So I need to tally the numbers. John Meoli surpassed Dr. Stephen Loftus, but I believe now you are either one behind Stephen or tied.
I'm going to have to come up with my own draft model or something.
I think you also need to keep John out of the country for a while.
All right, so let's dive into it, and we're going to start with Craig Kimbrell. Because last night we actually saw Kimbrell come out and work, was it the 6th or the 7th inning? 7th inning last night. We know he's had his struggles, but based on last night's game, do you think that it's inevitable we eventually see Kimbrell closing out games again, or do you think it's possible we see someone else take over this role over the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, unless they make like a trade for a legitimate number or ninth inning guy. Again, I don't think the A's are trading Mason Miller, but unless they go and get a Ryan Helsley type from the Cardinals, if they just completely give up, I think they're going to go by committee until they feel Kimbrell's ready again. And I think getting him into a 1-run game in the 7th inning against the bottom of the order and getting a 1-2-3 inning was perfect. Now, was it the prettiest 1-2-3 inning? No. But the fact that he bought into it enough to not kind of lose his cool, not kind of lose his command. We've seen Kimbrell in the past, once he left Atlanta and started to bounce around, like with the Dodgers, he wasn't exactly the closer the whole year. With the White Sox, with the Cubs, he wasn't the closer the whole year. And when he was given the 7th and the 8th, he struggled. And so I think it was nice that, he gave up a screaming liner to the first batter. And yes, he didn't absolutely dominate, but he dropped in his curveball for strikes, and he seemed to be bought in. And it was nice that, before the game, he talked about, hey, if I'm not going to be the closer, me and Brandon Hyde are going to have that conversation. Well, clearly they had that conversation. And clearly Brandon Hyde saying after the game the other night that, Craig Kimbrell's our closer. The things he's going to say to the media 30 minutes after the game is not exactly what he's going to say to his team. I think we've got a manager that can handle this pretty well. But I do think Kimbrell's stuff, and especially his strikeout stuff, is better swing and miss stuff than anybody has in the Orioles bullpen still. And eventually, especially in the zombie runner, extra inning scenarios, you're going to need a good Craig Kimbrell. I think he'll get that job back.
Yeah, and for the people that criticize Brandon Hyde for his decisions during a game, I feel like this is part of what makes him a great manager is managing the clubhouse, and pretty cool to see him buy in like that, a veteran like that. And I'm changing the subject completely now, but fresh off winning Rookie of the Month and Player of the Month, respectfully, Colton Cowser and Gunnar Henderson look like strong candidates for postseason awards. Of those two, which one do you think is most likely to maintain that pace?
To maintain his pace is probably Gunnar Henderson, just because he's gone through more of the ups and downs. I mean, Cowser even went through a mini down already this year over the last couple of weeks. Seems like his swing is kind of back. He's had better at-bats. In terms of winning the award, I think Cowser probably has a better chance, only because like MVP is just so much harder to win than Rookie of the Year is. There's so many other better players you're competing against, even with Shohei Ohtani not in this league. Like, I think I would give it to Juan Soto right now, even as good as Gunnar Henderson has been. However, I do think in terms of consistency throughout the year, we're going to see Gunnar be easily a 6+ win, maybe 7-win player this year, who's going to hit potentially 40 homers. I mean, he's already got 11. Who's going to hit close to 300 throughout the year. And I think is going to be, if he doesn't win, I think he'll easily finish top 3 in MVP prize.
So go to this question, and I know we're talking about this later because we had a listener come up and ask us, are we going to talk about this? Cedric Mullins has shown flashes of his old self this year, but it has been rough overall for him. Do you think that the Orioles give him the season to figure things out, or does it eventually start to, maybe he's phased out a little bit and Colton Cowser in the center field more often and Heston Kjerstad gets more reps at the corner spot?
The best way to stay in a major league lineup sometimes is to play Gold Glove level defense. And if the Orioles offense is peaking the way they need to, and if Jackson Holliday comes back to this team and has gotten through whatever happened that first round, and you have Holliday at second and Westberg at third, or some sort of combination of Kobe Mayo here and hitting well, then you can play Cedric Mullins almost every day, hit him ninth, and play center field, and I think he'll be fine. I think Cedric Mullins, just because of his swing, because of the kind of player he is, he doesn't look like a power hitter, but he has a very big uppercut swing that plays for power. And so when he's struggling, it's a little more frustrating than other players because you feel like Cedric Mullins should be a guy who slaps the ball the other way, hits singles and doubles, gets on base, steals second, and plays good defense. But we saw out of him this 30-30 season, he is truly more of a power hitter than a guy of his stature should be. So when his swing is a bit off like it is now, he pops everything up. The issue now, and I think we're going to learn a lot about this next week, when StatCast makes available their bat speed data for the first time, Cedric Mullins is struggling to hit the fastball and hit velocity for the first time in his career, and I'm worried that his bat speed is going to show up and be very, very low, and that's going to be something to look at. But he is a Gold Glove caliber center fielder, and again, if Holliday is back and producing, and basically that's the only other hole on this team offensively right now is the other infielder, wherever Westberg's not playing, I am completely fine with Cedric Mullins. Give him a few days off against lefties, sure, he's not hitting lefties at all. But I am completely fine with Cedric Mullins being in center field, hitting ninth every day, and he's not going to be this bad all year. And at the very least, even at the end of last year, when he was clearly not healthy, and he still came back from the hamstring issue and the adductor issue, he still had clutch hit after clutch hit. Now he was hitting like 180, but it was like every 2 for 10, those 2 hits came in the 7th, 8th, or 9th innings. So even if he does that and hits 9th, I'm still fine because he's still going to be a positive WAR player and give you incredible defense.
And I was getting a day off today, which is good, clear as head, and then I think we face 7 consecutive righties. After this, it'll be a good test for him, but I think Colton Cowser might get a chance to prove he can play center field.
I'm not fully bought in on Cowser in center field, but if he can prove it, that's going to change everything. Like, he's never going to be Cedric Mullins, but if he can be one step down from Cedric Mullins defensively in center field, then you have some options, because maybe you find out today that Heston Kjerstad can hold his own in that left field, and then Austin Hayes can come in and play the 8th and 9th innings of games in left field. You have some options. The weird thing about Camden Yards is you have to have 2 center fielders out there. And because of that, I just think that means at home, you got to have Cedric Mullins in the lineup 95% of the time until Austin Hayes comes back. Then when Hayes comes back, maybe he can play some center field against lefties, and Cowser can play left field, and maybe that's the way you get Hayes into the lineup. It's not going to be Ryan McKenna, which would be nice, but I think there are ways to get him in there. But I also do think Cowser will have a chance here to prove that he can play center field. I personally don't think he proved it when he got the chance last year, but it was a very small sample size, and he was dealing with a lot of the plate that makes you think, okay, maybe we don't have to grade out his defense completely. Now that he's feeling good at the plate, we'll see how he looks in center.
I was saying, just with Mullins, like you guys touched on the defense. We talked about this. Bob's up here rocking the Milwaukee Brewers jersey right now on the Orioles podcast, but it is a Joey Ortiz, and we've talked about Joey Ortiz all the time when he was coming up. If that bat could just be league average, right? He's a potential all-star. I feel like that's the same with Cedric Mullins. If that bat can just be at least league average the rest of the way, I'm not concerned about Mullins. But I mean, the game starts in like an hour and a half. So anyone listening after the fact, our takes will be exposed by then. But Kershaw's playing left field today. Cowser's in center. Anyone, I guess, open this up to anybody. Anybody super anxious about watching Kershaw out in left field, or like genuinely excited to see if he could pull this off? Maybe get challenged today out there in left field?
I tweeted this out about an hour ago. So the Orioles only 6 out of 81 home games last year did they put a quote-unquote like not good outfielder in left field at Camden Yards. They put Terran Bauer out there twice early in the season. They randomly put Adam Frazier out there twice. They put O'Hearn out there once, and he made an incredible catch slamming into the wall. And they put Kerstad out there in the final game of the season when everything was clinched, and they were just trying to rest guys and play guys. So really 5 times when it mattered that they put somebody out there. And it went fine, but I think they just kind of got more lucky than anything else. Like, you can put Kerstad out there on a whim and be okay, but if you play him for a week straight, the ball's going to find him. I think that worries me more than just playing him once.
I'm more concerned about how Orioles social media is going to react when McKenna comes into the game in the 8th inning as a defensive replacement. I don't think most people can handle that.
I'm excited to see Cowser in center field. I think last year, I completely agree. He looked very uncomfortable when he played center. But I feel like he just looked uncomfortable in general, and he's much more confident. Looks much more like the guy we watched coming up through the system. So I think he can hold his own out there. And Kerstad, it'll be an adventure. Hopefully he gets a hit or two.
If you went on a road trip and you didn't stop for a Big Mac or drop a crispy fry between the car seats or use your McDonald's bag as a placemat, then that wasn't a road trip. It was just a really long drive. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
At participating McDonald's.
Whether you're a morning person or a bedtime procrastinator, everyone deserves a mattress that works for their style. And you'll find the best mattress for you at Ashley. The new Temper-Adapt collection at Ashley brings you one-of-a-kind body-conforming technology, making every sleep tailored to be your best. The collection also features cool-to-the-touch covers and motion absorption to help minimize sleep disruptions from partners, pets, or kids. Shop the all-new Temper-Adapt collection at Ashley, in-store or online at ashley.com. Ashley, for the love of home.
This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Grainger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
All right, now we're both through a little bit of technical difficulty. On to the next question, Connor. Looking right now, Jordan Westbrook's really playing at something close to an all-star pace right now, but he's got a little bit of a challenge in that he's going to be bouncing back between second and third for a while, most likely. Do you think there's any path for him, provided he maintains his pace, to make an all-star team?
Yes, it's tough because third base is going to be maybe tougher than somewhere like second base. Although Jose Altuve is actually hitting for the Astros, whereas it seems like no other Astros are playing good baseball, so they're second base. They do seem to put maybe some more utility guys on the All-Star team now, and you could argue Westberg is like that. I mean, they argued that Gunnar Henderson was quote-unquote utility last year because he was switching between shortstop and third. So if you're playing third and second, it could happen. He's also on a team where, and they were actually talking about this on the Apple TV broadcast last night, where Westberg is kind of overshadowed by the other young stars on his team, whereas he's producing at a level higher than most of them at this point. I think name recognition probably hurts. If Jordan Westberg is on the 2021 Orioles doing this, yes, he's an all-star, but when Gunnar Henderson's absolutely going to make the team, and Adley Rutschman's absolutely going to make the team, and Corbin Burns is going to make the team, and I mean, Ryan O'Hearn could make the all-star team if he keeps hitting like this. Like, it's going to be tough to get Westberg on there, but it shouldn't go unnoticed just how good and how consistent he's been. Like, he just has not slumped yet this year. It's been 6 weeks and he hasn't slumped yet.
Aside from Westbrook, who else do you think we can see in the All-Star game this year as an Oriole?
Yeah, Burns, Adley, Gunnar. Burns, Adley, Gunnar. I mean, Cowser maybe, if he continues to hit, it's possible, and O'Hearn is possible as well. Remember the old Oriole teams that had 5-6 All-Stars with Jones and Peters and Hardy and Machado would all go to the games. I do think in the bullpen, those bullpen spots are generally left for legitimately incredible closers, which if Felix Bautista were healthy is that. Craig Kimbrell's not that right now. And then it's left for terrible teams who have one good reliever. I don't know, despite how good Yennier Cano and Danny Kubo and Jacob Webb have been, I don't think that's where you generally are taking your relievers from, unless they're putting up seasons like Cano did last year, where it's like a sub-1 ERA, bursting onto the scene, like you have to put him in the All-Star game. They'll probably dig into like the White Sox bullpen, and who knows who's in there, but somebody might make the All-Star team, or the Angels bullpen, or somebody might make the All-Star team because those teams are just kind of a disaster.
There's been some talk of going to a 6-man rotation soon here when Grayson Rodriguez gets back, because June, I think we have 1 or 2 days off the entire month. Are you for that? And do you keep Corbin Burns on 5 days, or you do just a straight 6-man rotation? And then what happens when you finally go back to a 5-man rotation? Do you drop him to the bullpen?
Yeah, I think I've made this point on my show, you made this point, Bob, on your show, that it would be tough to put Corbin Burns in a 6-man rotation when you've brought in Corbin Burns most likely for 1 year. I would love for David Rubenstein to open up a checkbook for Corbin Burns, and it could happen, but he's going to at least test the market. And I doubt he's going to end up as an Oriole after this year. So if you're going to get Corbin Burns, you're getting 32, 33, 34 starts out of him. You're trying to get close to 200 innings, if not more, and he's been as advertised so far. It would be tough to push him back a day. Now, Brandon Hyde made a good comment yesterday. They have 1 off day in June. So even if you do go 6-man rotation with Corbin Burns, it's not like you're getting into a situation where you also have off days and Burns isn't pitching for 7-8 days. You might need it. It might be helpful for your starting pitchers. But these things always work themselves out. John Means returning, Kyle Bradish returning, and Grayson Rodriguez immediately going on the injured list kind of worked itself out. The easy move is to pull Cole Irvin, at least that's what we would have thought a month ago, and I know we're going to talk about him, but can't take him out of the rotation right now. Can't take Dean Kramer out of the rotation right now. I think you've got probably another week and a half, 2 weeks until Grayson comes back. Something could flip that gives you an easier move, someone could get injured. But I think as we head to June, I think they might go to a 6-man rotation. The fact that Brandon Hyde said it, and the fact that they did it last year, makes me think they will do it, and maybe they will try to find a way to give Corbin Burns every 5th day and move everybody else around. But I think it does hurt you a bit, in that everybody else is on weird days of rest, and you're just kind of pampering Corbin Burns. And also you get 1 less reliever, and it's nice, it makes it easier when you have a long man, but maybe Albert Torres isn't a long man, considering the last 2 times he's worked have been in high leverage spots. So it's tougher to go 1 less guy in the bullpen, especially when you don't have a closer right now. So I worry about the 6-man rotation, but you don't hope that something works out because you hope Kramer and you hope Irvin are pitching well enough where you can't make that decision. So I think they'll go to the 6-man for a couple weeks and see how the bullpen looks and then decide from there. I think eventually one of Cole Irvin or Dean Kramer will pitch his way into the bullpen, and they'll go back to 5 guys. But also, you're relying on Means and Bradish, who are still injury questions. And I think at some point, one of those guys will be not shut down again, but maybe have to go back on the injured list, and that can answer your questions as well.
I want to zoom out a little bit because we're like, 40 games into it now? 40 games into the season, we can open up this to like everybody if we want to. Do you guys feel more confident, less confident, or the same in the Orioles being able to win the AL East? Because I'm hoping I'm not jinxing it, but I feel way more confident. And I was already confident that the Orioles would win the division this year. But after Boston, like, literally half their rosters on the injured list, I can't see the Yankees staying healthy the rest of the year. You can't tell me that Aaron Judge, the center fielder, Stanton, Rodon, Cortez, all these guys are going to stay healthy. The magic is run out in Tampa Bay. I said that last week. I'm going to keep saying that. The magic is run out for right now, at least. And Toronto, like, they got 3 good hitters and none of them can hit. So I feel way more confident about the Orioles. We're talking about Dean Kramer or Cole Irvin, who are pitching lights out right now, possibly being pushed to the bullpen. So where do you guys stand on the Orioles chances this year?
I feel slightly more confident than I did in, say, March, because I did not think Kyle Bradish would be pitching in front of us right now. I was pretty much convinced that he was headed for TJ, and that could still happen, but he looks good through 2 starts. And I thought John Means would be back at this point, and we'll see today what he looks like, but that was a top 5 start of John Means' career coming off the injury list in Cincinnati. And the fact that Cole Irvin's pitching as well, that was one of my big predictions for the year, that Cole Irvin would make close to 30 starts and we wouldn't be mad about it. That's looking okay for now. But I didn't know Dean Kramer would look this good. I thought Kramer might be a guy who might end up being pushed to the bullpen. And I think I feel slightly better because Bradish and Means are here. I wouldn't say fully better because I think the bullpen is worse than I thought it would be, just because we're in this weird Kimbrel spot right now. But everybody else is still pitching well, so I'd say better. If you said January 1st versus now, or maybe the day they traded for Corbin Burns versus now, it's probably even, because I thought they had healthy Bradish back then, and healthy Means. But the Yankees are good. The Blue Jays stink, I think. So, and the Red Sox will run out of gas. The Rays will figure it out, but I'd say a little better.
I agree, and Connor touched on all the points. I think the other thing that I would bring up is that I'm still not convinced we've seen the Orioles line up at full strength. Anthony Santander has had a really slow start to the season. Cedric Mullins has had a slow start to the season. So there are still some players that could heat up, not to mention we don't know what we're going to get from Heston Kjerstad, Jackson Holliday in the second stint, or possibly Connor Norby or Kobe Mayo down the line. And top to bottom, the AL East is not that strong this year. The Yankees are the toughest competition, and it all comes down to their health. If they stay healthy, they can outscore anybody, and that's going to keep them in the race. But if the Yankees in the last couple of years, especially last year, show up, and they start to have injuries down the stretch, they're going to look kind of mediocre pretty quickly. I agree with Nick. I think the magic on the Rays has run out, and if it's fringe for them at the deadline, whether or not they go for it, or they sell and build for the future, they're going to sell and build for the future. Toronto, that lineup has not been as dangerous for the last year and a half, and I think that current group of hitters, at least, is starting to bottom out.
Yeah, I'm more confident as well. I think Colton Cowser's start helps a lot. It helps offset the slow starts that Santander and Mullins came up with. The fact that the rotation is healthy, I feel like that's as good a luck as we could possibly have. And Bradish and Means are already back and pitching well. I think we'll make a move for a reliever at the deadline. Jackson Holliday will be back. Kobe Mayo will be up. Yeah. The Yankees are better than expected, especially if Garrett Cole can come back this year, but fuck the Yankees.
Okay, the second episode with the explicit label on it. Speaking of something I just brought up, I'll throw this out to the group, starting with Connor. What happens first? Jackson Holliday is recalled, or Kobe Mayo makes his debut?
I don't think they're going to have them cross over a lot, because you have to expect Kobe Mayo to maybe go through something similar that a lot of the young guys have gone through when they've come up. And you just want to make sure that Jackson Holliday's fine, so I don't think like within a week. But it feels like one of those two is going to come back soon. Because as much as I love what Jorge Mateo has done so far, I'm not on board with him playing every day, and that's what he's at right now, because Ramon Arias is just on the bench. Like, Ramon Arias is not playing, and that's because he's not hitting the ball hard. He can't run. He is the slowest utility infielder in baseball history, I'm convinced. And while his defense is good, if Westberg's playing a good third and Mateo's playing a good second and is hitting, then there's really no reason to play Arias. But against righties, I don't want to play Jorge Mateo. I want to play him against lefties. So it seems like at some point here, either Holiday or Mayo is coming up, I would think by the start of June. My guess would be Jackson Holiday because A, he's already been here. And so he, hopefully that 2 for 34 is his, okay, I got it out of the way. Number 2 is, and I know you guys will push back on this a little bit, but I went back and watched some Kobe Mayo defense at third. He is a better defender at third base in terms of getting the balls, in terms of moving his feet. They changed his arm angle, and it just made a different problem. He made a throw yesterday in Memphis where it was like a tailor-made double play. He almost had too much time, and he just threw it into right field. And he like short-armed it and one-hopped it, and he's made a couple of throws like that this year where last year he was throwing all the way over the top, he was like skipping balls into first. They moved him to here, and now he's launching it down the line. And so it seems like something mental more than physical because he's got a can of an arm, but I think they want to work that out because if they're going to play Mayo, I doubt it's going to be at DH because you just have too many guys you got to filter in at DH. So if they're going to play Mayo, it's going to be at third. And when you have Ramon Arias and Jordan Westberg, you better make sure Mayo can throw the ball to first if you're going to put him at third base in the big leagues. So that's why I think Holiday will be the next guy.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Holiday's also already in the 40-man. You don't got to make a roster move there.
Yeah, I was just going to say, yeah, the defense, we can admit, like, that arm, that play yesterday, I was watching that game yesterday, and yeah, it's like, all right, I remember I was like, all right, hit to Kobe Mayo, I look away, I'm like, that's a double play, and the ball's in the outfield, and that was frustrating. Because I'm always waiting for that Kobe Mayo highlight, just to be able to push that out and push back into the narrative, but yeah, it is, I could see from the Orioles' perspective, we talked about this last week, I brought up Dan Zimborski's article on Fangraphs. Kobe Mayo offensively is projecting to be like 2.5, 3 WAR player the rest of the year if you bring him up. But at the same time, this organization values defense, and I know MLB as a whole, like, you're going to value that defense, and I could see them keeping Mayo down, even if he gets 40 home runs in Norfolk. We know Mike Elias doesn't care what the fans think as far as like making what he believes. He's going to make the decision that he believes is best for his baseball team, not what the fans want. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's frustrating as a fan. But I can easily see them keeping Mayo down for probably the rest of the year, regardless of how many home runs he hits at 110, 120 miles per hour and 430 feet. But Holiday, like, he's walking more than he's striking out again. He's making good contact. I could see him coming back up, and if you, even at that point, you get rid of Ramon Arias, you can still DFA him. Mateo, I was going to say I love Mateo, what he's doing now, but in his current role, I kind of actually do. Like, I love what he's been able to do, the speed he's making game-changing plays as a part-time player, and I think even if Jackson Holiday is a call-up, you can still boot Ramon Arias from the roster. Mateo can continue his role, and as long as Holiday fares better, which, I mean, the bar's pretty low when you're doing some major leagues, then you're going to take this lineup to, I think, a whole nother level.
Yeah, Mayo's bat is ready yesterday. Like, and the Orioles could use some right-handed power, I feel like, to balance out the lineup. I think, like I said, Holiday's already on the 40-man. He has made some changes. He's not stepping into the bucket as much. He's staying in on the ball. His eye is showing itself off again. But I feel like if you see Kobe Mayo make a start in right field in Norfolk, he's less than a week away from his major league debut. And speaking of outfielders who are on the Orioles potentially, Heston Kjerstad, how do you think he finds a way to get more playing time the rest of the way?
An injury. I mean, it's nice that he's starting today. I think this could be a slight opening for him, but he's going to need some balls hit at him today for it to be an opening. Like, he's going to need to run down a ball in the corner. He's going to need to make a nice throw to the cutoff man. He's going to need to hit somebody at second base. And it's tough because he hasn't played much, but he didn't play the outfield at all last year, basically, when he came up, except for in the games after they had clinched, they put him in the outfield. And then this year, he's barely played at all. And when he was in right field in Anaheim, he made those back-to-back just horrendous plays, and it was tough to watch. And I know he can play the outfield better than like Ryan O'Hearn can, and I know he can play the outfield better than like the guys they put out there like Adam Frazier and Terry Bobber can last year, but he's not Austin Hayes, and he's not Ryan McKenna, and he's not Cedric Mullins, and he's not even Anthony Santander, who's a very underrated defensive outfielder. And so I think he's in this weird spot where he was probably hoping that Ryan O'Hearn was just kind of lightning in the bottle for a year, and clearly he is not. Ryan O'Hearn is closer to like a JD Martinez career track right now than he is to just a one-hit wonder. And that's tough for Heston Kjerstad. And maybe his opening is if Santander really slumps, but you're still going to rely on the 6 years of Santander versus 1 year of slumping. So what it would have to be, really what Kjerstad needs to cheer for, is for Colton Cowser to be able to play center field. Because if Cedric Mullins is really struggling, and you're going to play Cowser a lot more in center, that's what you need. You need to be able to trust him out there, and then in away ballparks, you can put Kjerstad in left field. I personally think that they may even send Kjerstad down when they're ready to bring Holiday up. I think they might keep Arias on the roster for as long as they possibly can. I think Mayo would be the guy who boots Arias off the roster. Because Kjerstad, it's unfortunate, but with O'Hearn, with Santander, with Cowser, with Mullins, with Mountcastle, there's just nowhere to play Kjerstad. What is he here to do? Pinch hit for either Mateo or Arias in a tough spot at the end of the game. And that's a weird spot for a highly touted rookie to be in, and not like a veteran like Ryan O'Hearn to be in. But that's kind of where we're at right now, and you're not going to keep him in that role, even though I think he's fairly close to fully developed as a hitter in AAA. You're not going to keep him in that role all season. If it becomes another month from now and he's still a pinch hitter, you're going to send him down. So I think it's going to take an injury.
First, that's hoping you're wrong.
What if in the trade deadline teams come calling for Kjerstad? Are you guys comfortable with moving Kjerstad over some of these other guys? Because I feel like I almost would prefer if you can, because Ryan O'Hearn has an option, right? So the Orioles can pick up that option and he can return next year. Santander, I know the contract is over, but I'm Team Santander. I've said this before. I was fully on board this offseason, and I haven't changed my stance there. Maybe you get the qualifying offer and he accepts the qualifying offer, you get one more year, maybe you get a small extension. But what if you're able to work out an extension with Santander, or you know he's going to accept the qualifying offer, he's back for another year, you pick up O'Hearn's option, do you trade Kjerstad? Or do you hold him back for a whole other year and hope that, well, we've got a replacement when one of those two guys eventually comes over?
I mean, if you get a legitimate piece that's going to help you win the World Series, I think you would trade Heston Kjerstad. If you feel like O'Hearn is still legit, and he is, I mean, the stuff under the hood is better than the stats, and the stats are incredible. If Santander is producing enough, or at the very least, yeah, you can give him $20 million for one more year, and knowing that, you know, Austin Hayes is probably still here, Cedric Mullins is still here, if you do need him, you have Cowser, and your hope is that one of Bradfield, Beavers, and Fabian can be a big league player by 2026. And really, the other thing about this is the Orioles will be more willing to spend in free agency. Probably the easiest thing to get in free agency, besides a solid middle reliever, is a solid corner outfield bat. They're everywhere. Tommy Pham was out there until mid-April. He's a productive player. So if the Orioles needed a Tommy Pham because they traded Kjerstad and they didn't bring back Santander, but Cowser and Mullins and whomever we're going to play those positions moving forward, they could go get a guy like that and still be productive. They could maybe still move Kobe Mayo to right field if they ever wanted to. Like, that's a possibility as well. But I just think that if you could get a legitimate player that helps you win the World Series, it would be a tough move to make, because I think Kjerstad is more in the plans than even Hall or Ortiz were. But they got a player that's going to help them potentially win a World Series in that deal. And if you can do it again, and especially if you can get a non-rental player for a Kjerstad deal, I think I would do it, because I think you can cover that as much as I love Heston Kjerstad.
Yeah, I agree with Connor, and I think the thing that the Orioles would want to do with Kjerstad is what they did with DL Hall, which is that if they hold on to him for another year, there's a chance that his value could go down. If DL Hall had been a reliever this year, he would not have gotten you the same return that he got this past offseason. And you also run the risk, not that they're the same kind of player, but I do think that Kjerstad has a higher ceiling, but you run the risk of Kjerstad becoming the next Kyle Stowers. where he's hitting well at AAA, but he hasn't made the most of the limited major league opportunities he's getting. So nobody knows what to make of him, and his trade value isn't as high as it probably should be. So if you have a chance to get something for Kjerstad at the deadline, and the Connor's point that helps you win the World Series, you go ahead and do it. As much as I like Kjerstad, I would do that.
And if you trade Kjerstad, you don't bring back Santander, you still have Kyle Stowers next year, who could probably at least fill in at a major league average level until you found somebody else, or you could have a chance to get some real playing time and maybe break out.
Yeah, I agree. In the right deal, I think Kjerstad can go. So I guess Kjerstad and Norby are our biggest trade chips, which brings me to the question, trade deadline. Everyone wants Mason Miller. Are you giving up Kobe Mayo and Enrique Bradford Jr. as Ken Rosenthal proposed, or do you think there's a way to do it with Kjerstad and or Norby, or do you go somewhere else?
I'm not giving up anyone that good for a relief pitcher. And especially a relief pitcher who, despite the fact that he has literally been the best reliever in baseball this year, and the closest comparison has been Felix Bautista, he also missed more than half of last season with a UCL issue. And the data is there. He's throwing 101 miles an hour. He's going to get Tommy John and probably soon. And yeah, he's got 5 years of team control left. But the other part of this is, I know the A's are trying to make the worst baseball team possible. And John Fisher is probably one of the worst things that happened to Major League Baseball in like the past 20 plus years. But are they really going to trade away Mason Miller, a guy who they still think could be a starting pitcher for the next good A's team? Yeah, you want to capitalize on relievers when they're at their best. It's sometimes good business to trade away relievers when they're good because the relievers are so volatile. But I don't know if they see him as a reliever. I think they think he could still be a starter one day, which could be huge for the A's. And also, like, I kind of hold the opinion where the talk about Mason Miller is kind of like the talk of Yankee fans about every player that's good on every bad team. It's like, oh, he's good on a bad team, he's ours. Like, future Yankee. Like, that kind of feels like what's happening with Mason Miller. And A's fans have been through enough where, like, I would like for them to have, of course I'd love him on the Orioles, but I don't think he's being traded, and I really would like for them to at least have Mason Miller, because you could argue that the biggest reliever impact that anyone's made in a long time in baseball is what Mason Miller is doing right now for the A's. Like, they don't have anything close to 18 wins if they don't have Mason Miller closing out games at the end. I would love him, but I think we're looking at more of a Ryan Helsley if you're going for a legitimate closer. He's got a year and a half left on his deal. The Cardinals are falling apart again. The issue with St. Louis is probably they want pitching like they did last year. They had to give up Zach Showalter, who you really liked, to get Jack Flaherty. You might have to give up more to get Helsley, but it's not as much as you have to give up to get Mason Miller, and you have more of a proven closer entity who you get for a year and a half. And then Helsley and Bautista next year would be absolute insanity at the back end of the pool. I mean, Michael Glass has probably already made a phone call, but I just don't see it happening.
No, I'm not giving up Kobe Mayo for any relief pitcher. I don't care how good you are.
I guess we'll kind of start to wrap up here with Connor. And last night we saw David Ruben Splash, apparently, of course this is a real last name, be Mr. Splash. He's flashing last night, giving out swag and gift cards and everything. He's in all of these commercials and videos. He is doing everything he can to make himself connected to fan base and fun. And he's making Orioles baseball. I think he's a large part of making Orioles baseball fun again. And what's been your opinion since David Rubenstein has taken over? How are you feeling about the state of the Orioles? Are you confident that there's going to be an extension sometime this season or off season? Are you confident that there's going to be spending this off season? Or just general opinion of how it feels to be an Orioles fan right now with a good team and John Angelo's nowhere to be seen or heard from, hopefully ever again?
Yeah, I like this new owner better, which low bar to clear, but there's two things you got to do as the owner of a Major League Baseball team in a sport that has no salary cap. Number one is just make the fans happy in terms of give them free stuff and be around and be in silly videos and make it known that you're an Orioles fan and you actually want the team to win. And when you talk to the media, talk about silly stuff in the booth with Ben McDonald and not talk about how, we can't pay our players or we have to do the concerts first or whatever it may be. The other part is spending the money on the baseball team. And I don't really think he's gotten a chance to do that yet because not a lot of extensions get done during the season. He'll be tested this offseason for the first time. That'll be step 2. But step 1 is so much easier than step 2. And John Angelos couldn't even complete step 1. And that's what's so crazy about it. Like, if John Angelos would have tried to go out in a splash zone last year, I think someone would have pushed him over the wall. Like, literally someone would have pushed him over the wall. And so it's just so easy to endear yourself to fans like this, and that's what he's doing. He's like a sweet old man. And he's not really that, because he's a billionaire who is a venture capitalist and, has probably made some people's lives hell. But in general, he's making Orioles fans' lives not. So at that point, yeah. So I'm happy for that. I do think that the pressure will be on to extend someone, and I think it will be specifically Adley Rutschman in this offseason, because it's just going to be easier to extend than a player like Gunnar Henderson will be because of his talent and because of who his agent is. Scott Boras doesn't do a lot of, especially pre-ARB extensions. He's not going to do that. What I will say is, we talked about this a little bit before the show started, I could see maybe a mid-season extension to a smaller piece, just to endear himself to fans even more. Maybe a Kyle Bradish. Maybe you give Danny Kuno a couple more years. Maybe you give Yennier Cano a pre-ARB, some sort of extension year. Maybe even you find a way to get Jordan Westburg done now, who won't cost nearly as much. Maybe you just tack on 2 years to Cedric Mullins or Santander now. I think that could do a lot for his standing with the team right now. And then you really gotta get to business in the offseason. But he's completing the low-hanging fruit. Which is just like, go be the splasher and give people gift cards to the team store and go on the broadcast and just do these stupid videos where Cal Ripken's sitting at a desk at shortstop. And it was so easy. It was right there to just not be an idiot. And luckily he's doing it.
Well, we have a special guest here.
John Angelos.
Connor, thank you so much again for joining us today. I'll wrap Herowitz's topic we're going to talk about a little bit next, but Cole Irvin, off to an excellent start this year. They continue on Friday night. The strikeout numbers are down a little bit, but the walk numbers are down. Just about every metric across the board is a step forward from what we saw last year. Do you think that this is in any way sustainable?
Yes, because he's done it before. Now, not this good, but you traded for Oakland Cole Irvin, which is 190 innings and a high 3s ERA, he takes the ball every 5th day, and his goal is to go 7 innings. He's doing something close to that right now. Now he's doing a better version of that, which is great. He's not going to do that all year. Stuff's not good enough to do that all year. But if Cole Irvin can give you 180 innings with a 3.9 ERA, that would be huge for this team to have at the back end of the rotation. Is he going to start a playoff game for you? No. And that's because you have Corbin Burns, Grayson Rodriguez, and Kyle Bradish. But I will say, he can sustain this at least to the Oakland level. I totally think he can, and that would be incredible for this team.
The living room is where you make life's most beautiful memories. But your sofa shouldn't be the one remembering them. The new life-resistant, high-performance furniture collection from Ashley is designed to withstand all the spills, slip-ups, and muddy paws that come with the best parts of life. Ashley high-performance sofas and recliners are soft, on-trend, and easy to clean. Shop the high-performance furniture in-store or online at ashley.com. Ashley, for the love of home.
What's the easiest choice you can make? Window instead of middle seat? Picking a vendor who sends a great gift basket? Outsourcing business tasks you hate? What about selling with Shopify? Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage? Shopify's there to help you grow. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell. Wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/try. Go to shopify.com/try now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/try.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer, he hears things differently. To the untrained ear, everything on his shop floor might sound fine, but he can hear gears grinding or a belt slipping. So he steps in to fix the problem at hand before it gets out of hand. And he knows Granger's got the right product he needs to get the job done, which is music to his ears. Call, click Granger.com, or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
So, just to give yourself a minute, or give you a minute here to plug your show, what's coming up on Locked On Orioles?
Yeah, you guys can check out the Locked On Orioles podcast wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. What sets us apart is episodes every other week, Monday through Friday, about 30 minutes. You can listen to everything going on with the team and the game the night before. What's coming up is Monday I'll recap this series against Diamondbacks. Hopefully it is a series win. And we do some special episodes in there where we get into deeper topics. Those are usually on off days. But it's generally, you want to hear about the game from the night before, and you don't want to hear Jason Lockenfora talk about it on 157, then you can go to Locked On Orioles. That's pretty much the pitch right there.
Well, thank you for joining us. Connor Newcombe, the host of Locked On Orioles. Definitely check out his world. If you're a big fan of his, we always appreciate his support and his insight. And now we'll get into a topic we're going to discuss before we take questions from our listeners, which is Cole Irvin. As I mentioned, Irvin off to an excellent start in the season, now 4-1 on the year with a 2.9 ERA, 3.4 FIP, and 3.82 xFIP. So what that shows you in a snapshot is that he's probably getting by with a little bit of luck, but that this is still a big step forward from what he did a year ago, which brings me to my next point. 6-8 months ago, I think a lot of people had written off the Cole Irvin for Darryl Hernandez trade. That looked like a misfire for Mike Elias because the Orioles gave up an infielder, young infielder with a lot of talent who had a big year in the minor leagues last year, to get a guy who was supposed to anchor the back end of their rotation, ended up not being in the rotation all year, was optioned to AAA at one point, and overall, was better by the end of the season, but the stat line when 2023 ended wasn't great. Flash ahead to this year, and now Irvin looks like the pitcher the Orioles traded for. So Bob, I'll start with you here. Has your opinion of that trade changed in the last 2 or 3 months?
No, but that's not because it hasn't gotten better. I already was not going to budge off of that was a fair deal for both parties. Cole Irvin, I felt like he did a good job last year. He wasn't really a starter for the Orioles, at least when he was at his best, but I feel like anytime you can get an arm like his that could be a 6th rotation member if you need somebody, or a swingman in the bullpen for a shortstop who's like your 6th best shortstop prospect, then yeah, you got to do that. But I'm not wearing my Darryl Hernandez Oakland Athletics jersey tonight, which I do have. So, no, I think we won the trade. Cole Irvin, he's pitching lights out. Bare minimum, he is a guy that can step up if needed in the rotation and be a nice multi-inning reliever. So, yeah, and we still have Kyle Verbitsky, who is not off to the best start this year, but still another arm in the minors in the year of the pitcher. Our Lord, Chris Holt, and yeah, I'm very happy with the trade, and more happy than I was before the season started, but really my initial opinion hasn't changed much.
Yeah, I looked up some Cole Irvin numbers here real quick last night after his start. So Cole Irvin, you mentioned already, Zach, the strikeouts are down, but the walks are down as well. He's also throwing his breaking ball stuff 30% of the time after throwing it just 14% of the time last year. And according to Baseball Savant, his run value is in the 89th percentile. On his breaking ball stuff, it was 38th percentile last year. What that means is his breaking ball stuff just sucked last year, and it's really, really good this year. He's also got like a 50% ground ball rate. And I just think that when you traded for Cole Irvin, you traded for the multiple years of control and the options. And you're able to send him down. Justin Ramsey down in Norfolk doesn't get talked about enough for what a tremendous asset he is. Look at Grayson Rodriguez. I think Justin Ramsey played a huge part in that. And you're able to send him down to Norfolk last year. He can work with Ramsey. He can work with the Tides player development. And then he comes back and was dominant out of the bullpen the rest of the year. He came out that first spring training game throwing massively low. He dialed it back, just like John Means did. John Means added the velo, and he wasn't that good. He dialed it back, he was good again. Cole Irvin's doing the same thing. The breaking ball is tremendous. I just think that Cole Irvin has been a fantastic asset for this team because it gives you it adds a whole other layer to this rotation. And now you're looking at one of the best starters on this team right now. Like Connor said, may not even, when the playoffs start, you're not going to be relying on Cole Irvin. He could get pushed to the bullpen. And this is the Baltimore Orioles we're talking about, the Baltimore Orioles pitching staff, that we're talking about sending guys down to the bullpen or possibly not even making the playoff roster if everybody's healthy. And the team has kind of been the joke when it comes to pitching development. And the Orioles were able to turn Cole Irvin around. And so, yeah, hopefully it's a win-win trade. But honestly, a young, proven starting pitcher who is now fighting his own, that you have multiple years of control, versus your, like Bob just said, like your sixth best shortstop prospect. We talk about Connor Norby being blocked all the time. You're going to put Hernandez over Norby and put Hernandez on the 40-man roster this offseason and waste now 2 rosters, 40-man roster spots, because you got Seth Johnson on the 40-man roster. You can't waste 2 40-man roster spots. This is, if Cole Irvin, he doesn't have to pitch this well, he's 1 out away from 4 straight quality starts. But if he's even just a little bit worse than that the rest of the year, I mean, this is a massive win for the Orioles. You're going to trade somebody who was never going to see the field as an Oriole for now one of their top pitchers.
And he's mentioned it in interviews that I think this is just the trickle-down effect of trading for Corbin Burns. So you see Dean Kramer, Cole Irvin, these guys, and Brad Ashevin, who can learn from him, not just like how to throw a pitch or whatever, just like the mental aspect of the game. I feel like they're benefiting big time from having Corbin Burns in their ear every other day.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. And to Nick's point, I think his improved breaking stuff is really the key, because in spring training there was so much focus on, Irvin hit 95 today. Well, spring training game, you're pitching 2 or 3 innings. That's what you're targeting. And Irvin, when he's at his best, is an innings eater. So I look more at the breaking stuff than I do the fastball velocity, because I don't expect him to sustain that over a 7-inning start, and I don't want him to fall into the trap of trying to sustain it. Let me ask this question, just pulling out more broadly, thinking about moves we've seen in the Mike Elias years. I know one the 3 of us were not happy with at the time was leaving Zach Pop protected after the 2020 season. That has proven to not really matter that much in the long run. But then you go back to the Mike Yastrzemski trade, that could have turned out a little better for the Orioles, and that really was not under any scrutiny at the time. So when you two think about it, when is the time to declare a winner of a trade?
That's a tough question. I think it's hard to go back years and years later, because process over results is how you're going to win trades in the long run. But when you're looking at an individual trade, I would say just put a solid 5 years on it, and I'm just going to arbitrarily say that 5 years. That's the time.
It's case by case basis. Like if you look back and you look back and maybe like, all right, the Dylan Bundy trade you gotta consider a win. Apparently he's selling land in Oklahoma right now as a real estate agent. According to Rock, like that's a win for the Orioles. I would consider the trade with the A's a win, because Cole Irvin is a productive starter for you. Like I just said, Darryl Hernandez is never going to see the field for the Orioles. Something like the Trey Mancini trade, maybe that's still up in the air. You got to wait another couple years before you can declare a winner on that deal. Although, like, Mancini's not in Major League Baseball right now, but could the Orioles have done more that year if they would have kept Mancini and Jorge Lopez? We'll never know. But yeah, I think that's a good question, and we'll see. I'm excited to see what trades we see at this deadline, because is Jesus Luzardo healthy enough, and do the Orioles make that trade? Do the White Sox, how much are they going to sell off? Is Garrett Crochet a guy you want to target? I don't know. I think I'm interested to see. There's so many bats. There's so many options the Orioles can roll with at this year's trade deadline. Talking about trades, we're already seeing trades across Major League Baseball. I'm curious how active Mike Elias already is in that realm.
Yeah, you had to think that he is, especially because the Marlins do have some young talent. They're clearly already willing to trade with Lisa Rise going to San Diego. They still have some good arms, even though some of them are hurt or underperforming to this point in the year. And who knows what's going to happen with some of these other teams. The Cardinals still have some talent to trade. There is going to be, I think it's going to be a little bit more of a buyer's market this year than what we've seen in past deadlines. At least I hope I'm right. And let's go ahead now and take questions from our listeners. I'll start with a listener who I don't think is here anymore, but he had a question ahead of time, which was basically, how long of a leash do you give Cedric Mullins? I know we talked about this a little bit with Connor, but I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts, starting with Nick.
I think I'm in no rush to move Mullins. Obviously, like we talked about, there's really no one else you feel confident playing center field. It's TBD on Colton Cowser. It'd be great if you could. It's not Cal Stowers, so you're not putting him in center field. So and again, I'm just gonna repeat what I said earlier, in that as long as he's playing Gold Glove caliber defense, then you're okay with keeping him out there in center field, keeping him in the bottom of the lineup. I think that's fine. You hold on to Cedric Mullins. He's a streaky player. Maybe he figures it out. Maybe he just needs that hard reset. I mean, we watched him get down to. He got sent all the way back down to AA a couple of years ago when it was you had that beautiful moment between him and Adam Jones, right? He passes the baton over to Cedric Mullins, and it was a disaster. And he gets into AAA, and it was a disaster. He goes to AA, and I think I've mentioned this before. I'm watching those Bowie Bay Sox games, and Cedric Mullins looked completely dejected. The body language was horrible, and you felt terrible watching him come up for the jet bat. And then he had a 30-30 season. He's not going to be a 30-30 player ever again, but he's a Gold Glove caliber center fielder. That's something the Orioles don't have right now in the upper levels, at least in the system. You let him play it out, and hopefully you figure it out.
Yeah, if anything, I feel like his struggles are just making the Kobe Mayo / Jackson Holiday replacing Jorge Mateo in the lineup / Ramon Arias in the lineup every day more necessary, just because how many guys can you have that can provide great defense and speed that aren't succeeding in the lineup. So I think you still give them for quite a while. Joe Fabian, he's not close to ready. Hudson Haskin is not a center fielder in the major leagues right now. So really, unless Colton Cowser can genuinely just look amazing out in center field today, and whatever chances he gets in the future months down the line, he could take over, but I doubt it. So yeah, I think Mullins is here to stay.
All right, for those of you in the audience, anybody have a question, raise your hand. All right, Justin, our great Checkerspot or bartender.
Sure, yeah. Go. Yeah, go.
You gotta think about the phrases. So do you think that if we need to bring up another, like say, if we're gonna bring up Holiday or another second baseman, do you think we should bring up Norby so we can put him on display or see what he's got going on? Or do you think they're gonna bring up Holiday? And do you want another beer now?
In a few minutes. Oh, it's happening.
So I don't think there's any harm to bringing up Norby because he has shown that he's ready for the major leagues. And it's a good point. Maybe you can display him, or maybe you find that there is a long-term need for him, because we can say now that we were hearing rumors before last season that Jordan Westburg was on the block. The Orioles are inevitably going to trade Jordan Westburg. Eventually, Jordan Westburg got to the major leagues, and now he's a core part of this roster. So maybe Norby could have emerged as that guy, but where I would look at Norby versus Holiday is going to be that left-right situation, because we know that that's how the Orioles base a lot of their roster decisions. If you have a run of lefties coming up and you have an opening for Norby and you want to see what he can do, you bring him up. But I'm pretty confident that if it's going to be a lot of righties over a 2 or 3 week stretch, they're going to go to Holiday before they go to Norby.
It's a shame Norby injured his wrist yesterday. Hopefully not serious, but I think it would take a lot more for Norby to get his shot than Holiday. Holiday, they are all in on. He's the #1 pick. They already brought him up to try to get the Rookie of the Year. That didn't work out, so they got the extra year control on him. I think Austin Hayes and someone else would have to get hurt for Norby to come up and be able to play second base / outfield. So yeah, unfortunately for Norby, it's of course Holiday.
Yeah, that play yesterday, he did not look good when he came up, unfortunately. He's shaking the wrist, and I thought he stayed in the game the rest of that inning, but he didn't come up to bat. I think Daniel Johnson came up and punched it for him, and I was like, all right, well, I think it's more serious than what he led on initially. If he's on the IL and misses some time, I think that's definitely going to hurt. But yeah, I just feel like overall, as a lot of Orioles fans who follow the minor leagues, we kind of, because Norby's lost that luster, I feel like, even myself sometimes, I feel like we forget or don't understand sometimes just how good of a prospect he is. He's top 100 prospect on baseball worthy. There's just nowhere for him to play. And I think that is a good point, but like, teams have access to all that AAA data. They know exactly what good of a player he is. If a team really wants him, like, they're going to pull the trigger and try to make that trade for him.
Yeah, he might be a Cardinal with Ryan Helsley in the Orioles bullpen by August. We'll see.
Any other questions?
Hold on, microphone.
I feel like this is going to be personal.
Okay. All right. Let's pretend tomorrow is the trade deadline. If you
What is the trade deadline? Define it for me right now.
If you could trade anyone and had no budget, who was the one player you'd trade and why?
Trade for?
Yes. Listen to him.
It's really hard this far away from the trade deadline because we don't really know who's selling. I really like Ryan Helsley of the Cardinals. I like him a lot because he's the closer that can touch 100. He's under control next year as well. Like Connor was saying when he was up here, him and Felix Bautista next year is like, forget it if we have a lead after the 7th. I'm willing to give up one of Erstad and Norby plus maybe like a, not one of our top pitching prospects for him.
If you had asked me this question a month ago, it would have been Jesus Luzardo, but I'm a little nervous about the injury and how he's going to bounce back from that. So I'll agree with Bob. I think that Helsley is the best fit for this team. You need a closer. You need someone at the back end of that bullpen. I know it's not the most interesting pick, but when I have likely an MVP finalist in Gunnar and Corbin Burns and a good rotation behind him, I don't feel like you need a lot of star power at the deadline. It's just about rounding out the weak spots in the roster.
Or we could trade for Juan Soto and extend him before the year ends because the Yankees are going to crash and burn here.
I know we just talked about starters and possibly having to push Kramer or Irving into the bullpen, but you can never have enough pitching. We don't know if Corbin Burns is going to be back next year. Honestly, I don't know how you guys feel about adding another starting pitcher at the deadline. I might rate Boston. Like, they're done. Like, there's no way they can climb out of this hole. Tristan Casas, I don't know if he's even breathing right now because his rib injury apparently is so severe. They're dropping like flies, but Boston's pitching is under the radar, not even under the radar, has been tremendous this year. Give me Tanner Houck, give me Cutter Crawford, give me one of these younger guys. I don't know how much control they have, but if they have multiple years of control, give me one of these Boston guys, and let's finish sending Boston to the grave as we take away their pitching. The one good thing they have.
Yeah, I'm totally fine getting another starting pitcher here. Obviously, they have to have years of control left. Jesus Luzardo, slow start, great. Maybe that lowers the price. We get him here for another few years after this. I'm all about it. Tanner Houck, yeah, I think that would be a great target as well. I don't know if Boston's willing to trade with us, but
That's true.
Tampa Bay, who you got? Shane Baz and Taj Bradley are coming back. Maybe they're spinning the guy they got from Cleveland again. So yeah, I'm totally down for it. I don't know if it'll happen.
All right, next question from the audience. Back there was Basayo jersey one. By the way, I like you're calling your sock already with the Maple Leaf Samuel Basayo jersey. You're not even going to wait.
Number 14, buy your jerseys tonight.
Whether you're a morning person or a bedtime procrastinator, everyone deserves a mattress that works for their style. And you'll find the best mattress for you at Ashley. The new Temper-Adapt collection at Ashley brings you one-of-a-kind body-conforming technology, making every sleep tailored to be your best. The collection also features cool-to-the-touch covers and motion absorption to help minimize sleep disruptions from partners, pets, or kids. Shop the all-new Temper-Adapt collection at Ashley, in-store or online at ashley.com. Ashley, for the love of home.
This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Granger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgranger.com or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
What series of transactions do you think happens when Hayes comes back from the L? Do you think McKenna gets cut, just first stack an option? And then also the Orioles currently have 4 infielders and 5 outfielders on the roster. Do you think they keep going for it, or what do you think?
It's a good question. Thank you. I personally see McKenna getting cut again, DFA'd. Maybe someone will pick him up, hopefully. Sorry, I hope you're not listening, Brian McKenna's parents, but yeah. I just think first that he's learned everything he needs to learn in AAA. I'm sure he's working with the hitting coaches, fielding coaches, and developing at the major league level. I think McKenna can go. Hayes can be the new McKenna with a little bit more playing time, and then eventually I think Kobe Mayo and or Jackson Holliday will be back. Then maybe you make a tough decision, send Kershaw back down to the minors.
I honestly would not be shocked at all, though, if you see Kershaw go back to AAA. I know as fans, we get frustrated with Ryan McKenna. Was it just the other day? I didn't watch last night's game, so that must have been, Wednesday's game? He makes a bad route, somehow makes the catch, or did he make that catch even? I don't even remember. I don't think he made the catch. It was a terrible route. Then he overslides the base, I believe. I get it, we're all frustrated with McKenna, but we just talked about the center field stuff. I could see them maybe trying to hold on to him, and they just say, look, Kershaw, you've got options. We're going to send you back down to Norfolk. Maybe they see that as more valuable. I don't know. Again, Mike Elias doesn't care what the fans think. He's going to make the decision that he feels, especially this roster, and I feel like trying to hold on to McKenna a little bit longer, I don't agree with it, but I could see that happening, unfortunately. I don't know. We'll see. And I don't know how they feel about Mateo. I don't know the last time we've seen Mateo in the outfield, but maybe they're willing to use Mateo in the outfield a little bit more now that he's hitting so well. I don't know, but yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I am kind of sick and tired of watching Ryan McKenna go try and play baseball out there. It's rough. Like there are better options that we could use, I feel like, but that's one of those things where I'm just like, I've turned the corner on Austin Hayes. I'm actually not excited, but I'm fine with Austin Hayes. I want Austin Hayes returning back on this roster.
Sorry, Garrett.
Because I don't want to watch Ryan McKenna play anymore. He was already put on waivers, and all 30 teams said no. The Tigers picked up Tyler Nevin. Oakland picked up Tyler Nevin. Multiple teams want Tyler Nevin, but no one wants Ryan McKenna. There's a reason for that.
Unfortunately, I have to agree with Nick because it's just the way things work out. Like, it would seem like, okay, you have a righty coming back. Let's just, put McKenna through waivers again, give Kershaw a little bit more time. But their thought process is going to be Austin Hayes is back. There are no at-bats for Heston Kershaw, so he's going to go down to AAA. We don't care how many at-bats we give Ryan McKenna, so he's going to stay around until we're ready to promote someone from AAA where there's no room for them. I think that's how it's going to work out. If I were making the call, I would keep Kershaw over McKenna, but I think it's going to be McKenna's 6th round. And now on that happy note, I'll go back out to the audience here. Any more questions? Connor.
I posed this on Twitter the other day. I wanted to get your thoughts. If there were a world where you could get Felix Bautista back fully healthy, where you had to sacrifice another player on the Orioles. They wouldn't be injured, they would be back on opening day of 2025, but you just couldn't use them for the rest of this year. Who is the best Oriole you would sacrifice to get a fully healthy, fully functional Felix Bautista back?
All right, this is not more than I was expecting. So, I'm going to take that first.
Sure. That's really good, really tough question. I'm going to say Jordan Westbrook. I think he's obviously an amazing contributor, but we have Jackson Holliday and Kobe Mayo down in the minor leagues, and if he's going to be guaranteed to be back fully healthy next year, I think the drop-off wouldn't be too bad. So the hard part is picking how good of a player you want to get rid of, and yeah, Westbrook's my answer, but hope it doesn't happen.
I like that. That was my first thought, was Westbrook, even though that's tough. Would you go Ryan Mountcastle?
Yeah, that's not bad.
I don't know.
That's not bad.
Are you confident in Heston Kjerstad? He can play. He's not a great first baseman.
Not at all.
Ryan Mountcastle playing Gold Glove first base this year, which is tremendous. Because I remember watching this kid in Norfolk as he was learning first base, and you could just tell he's like, all right, my left foot goes here, my right foot goes here, my arm goes here on this type of play. You could see him going through that in his head, and now he's an all-natural over at first base. But Felix Bautista coming back, sure, I'll go Ryan Mountcastle. Just a good.
Yeah, that's good because O'Hearn can play first, Kjerstad or DH. Who's better, Westberg or Mountcastle? I don't know, but yeah, that's another good option.
I was torn between a few guys, but I would go with John Means. Only because you got through most of last season without John Means. You got through the first month of this season without John Means. You could get through the next few months without. And I want to see him back to 2021 John Means, more than anything. And he's done so much for this team. But yeah, if I have to sacrifice him for the rest of the year to get Bautista back, and I get him on opening day 2025, I'll do that. All right, anybody else?
I have a question.
Oh, Nick's got a question.
Kate Povich appreciates your response there.
I have a question, and maybe we can wrap up on this if no one else has any questions. But have you guys had a moment this year where you're like, this year is different? Like, I go back to last year, where last year for me it was, I talked about this on the podcast, it was that series against, they swept Miami and Minnesota maybe? It was back-to-back sweeps. The Dodgers come into town. I was at least feeling cocky. The Dodgers came in though and took 2 of 3. And then they went to Tampa Bay and took 3 of 4. And for whatever reason, that series stuck out to me as like, this 2023 Orioles team is legitimate. Something is different now. I went to the Mets game a couple weeks later. That was my first time I came in yards since 2019. And Gunnar Henderson hits the home run to center field. I know, whatever, make fun of me. I legitimately felt a tear coming out of my eye. I'm looking around the stadium. I hadn't been there in 3-4 years. Gunnar Henderson, the last time I was at Camden Yards was when Gunnar Henderson was being introduced as a draft prospect, as a draft pick. Now I'm watching him hit a home run to dead center field. I've never felt this at Camden Yards before. This year, though, has there been a moment for you guys where, like, I don't know. Because for me, it was opening day, the first inning of opening day. Corbin Burns gives up that first inning home run to Mike Trout. Normally at that point, the baseball game will become background noise to me. I'm like, all right, this is the Orioles baseball. Here we go again. But he gives up that first inning home run to Mike Trout. I didn't even care. I was so fully invested. I'm like, this is nothing. That's Mike Trout. He's amazing. He's on the IL again, but he's amazing. We have Corbin freaking Burns on the mound now. I think I'm good. And then ever since then, I've just been like, this team falls behind. I'm not worried. Have you guys had a moment?
Yeah, for me it's the Cincinnati series at one of the bandboxes of America, like biggest hitting park in the majors potentially other than Coors, and we don't even have Bradish, Burns, or Grayson Rodriguez pitching against the Reds, which have an improved lineup. Ellie De La Cruz, one of the best young players in the game. Cole Irvin, John Means coming back in his first start, and Dean Kramer shut them down significantly. We sweep them. The pitching is different this year, and I think that's going to be the difference in the playoffs. So, yeah, let's go.
Torn between a couple of moments. One of them would be both Kansas City series because the Royals played the Orioles really tough. That easily could have gone the other way, and it didn't. But for me, it's the Yankees series. That was really a step forward in my mind for the Orioles because that was driven by the pitching staff. That was not the high-scoring Orioles-Yankees games we've seen when those two teams have been competitive, or the way the teams usually have to beat the Yankees, which is to outscore them. That was driven entirely by the pitching staff. And even in the game that the Orioles lost, the pitching staff came through. It was the offense that didn't come through. And if there's a turning point in this season for me, It's going to be actually when Juan Soto stared down Dean Kramer after the home run, and it did not lead to a meltdown. The Orioles won that game. Kramer pitched well the rest of the way. The bullpen held on, and I know that I heard the next day that the ball left Camden Yards, because it didn't. It was landed on Utah Street, which the last time I looked is inside of Camden Yards. But that was a real turning point for the pitching staff in my mind. I hope I'm right, because I know this Orioles-Yankees rivalry is not over. It's going to be a lot of back and forth. But if the Orioles do big things this year, that's going to be the series we look back on.
I hate Juan Soto this year, but I will still accept him as a free agent signing in the offseason.
Absolutely, and with that, thank you to everyone here at Checkerspot Brewing, especially the staff, Dennis, Justin, Audrey, for everything that they've done to help bring this show to fruition. Thank you to you, our listeners, our Patreon community, and our followers on social media. We do this all for you. We enjoy this so much. Hopefully we're back here in the not too distant future. In the meantime, though, you can catch us on our many social media channels, including Facebook, Threads, Instagram, TikTok, X. We're also over at YouTube and Substack, OriolesandTheBirds.substack.com. If you're not a member yet, join our Patreon community where you can get daily recaps from Bob, Nick, and myself, as well as monthly top 50 updates. And just a quick programming note, we are going to be off Monday of this week. We're not going to be doing a live show, but we will be back the following Monday live to break down more Orioles coverage. For Bob Phil and Nick Stevens, this is Zach Sped. You've been listening to Orioles on the Birds, presented by Bet Online and part of the Believe Podcast Network.
Whether you're a morning person or a bedtime procrastinator, everyone deserves a mattress that works for their style. And you'll find the best mattress for you at Ashley. The new Temper-Adapt collection at Ashley brings you one-of-a-kind body-conforming technology, making every sleep tailored to be your best. The collection also features cool-to-the-touch covers and motion absorption to help minimize sleep disruptions from partners, pets, or kids. Shop the all-new Temper-Adapt collection at Ashley, in-store or online at ashley.com. Ashley, for the love of home.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer, he hears things differently. To the untrained ear, everything on his shop floor might sound fine, but he can hear gears grinding or a belt slipping. So he steps in to fix the problem at hand before it gets out of hand. And he knows Grainger's got the right product he needs to get the job done, which is music to his ears. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.